Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Firing Synapses. This is a show all about exploration. I will learn what makes you, you. This includes your hobbies, passions, whatever else drives an emotion. However, if you want to come on just to vent about what's currently bothering you, I'm perfectly fine with that as well. My goal for this show is for you to have a good time, learn something, and have the opportunity to talk about what you normally would not get a chance to share with others. Thank you, and enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. For those return listeners, I thank you very much. I appreciate all the love. For all you new listeners, I am your host, Matt. On today's episode, I am joined by a recurring guest. Please, everyone, welcome to the show, Metta World Thief. How are you, Metta?
Bad. Welcome to the show, Metta World Thief, aka Metta World Jesus, aka Metta World Podcast. Also, by the way, a long time ago, you turned into a sex phone operator with your voice. I don't understand why you're being so smooth and sultry, but I love it. Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. But yes, you hit a nail on the head there. My wife does say I have normal Matt, and then I have mic'd Matt, and she said sometimes I don't like mic'd Matt. He's too commercial and easy going, like Sunday morning.
You mean Magic Mike Matt?
I wish I had Magic Mike's body.
I bet you do.
I mean, so just in front of me, not even like the actual physical form. So also joining me on today's show, I am joined by Isaac. He is a sound engineer and the host of Fix It in Post podcast. Please, everyone, welcome Isaac to the show. Hi, Isaac.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's it's gonna be a lot of fun.
So, for more Isaac's sake, this show is about exploring people's hobbies, their interests, their passions. And today's topic, I was going to talk about audio and how kind of it affects, well, we're in the podcast world, so this is pretty much 100% of what goes into this. I'm still fairly new into this, so there's a lot of things that I'm still trying to learn, but the more shows I do, the better I get at it, I think. I mean, practice with anything makes you better.
And we've talked about like mic technique and different things like that, right?
Right, so that's kind of like topics I want to talk about today. Like, I still kind of struggle, or I know I'm not perfect on mic technique. I try to be. I've had some blunders on the show, and most of the time I leave them in because I think that's kind of how you learn, right? You make mistakes, someone points it out, and you say, "Well, okay, I'll learn."
Meta points it out.
Yes. Even though this is quote unquote my show, I have no problem being put in my place. If you tell me I'm too close, I'm too far, eat the mic or whatever, I try to pay attention. Whatever I do, I try to get better at.
Okay. Not to hijack your show, but Senor Isaac, how do you feel about the concept of motherfuckers not understanding how to eat the mic?
Oh, mate, it's the worst. Honestly, you get a vocal file sent to you, and it sounds like a tiny little person in a massive hall just because they're not next to the mic. And honestly, working with it is the worst, man.
I have a theory on that. I believe that the reason people don't understand how to use microphones is because we all grew up watching television where the news person is mic'd up with like a lapel mic or something like that. And then they hold this fucking stupid mic 4 feet away from their body. And people are like, that's how to use a microphone. No,
Yeah.
that is not how to use a microphone. You have to get COVID to use a microphone properly. You have to put your fucking you on a SM58. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
am I
absolutely.
wrong?
Yeah. Not at all, man. I can hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's a interesting point. I kind of never thought about like the Price is Right. I think everyone has in America
Yeah.
has grown up with that. Where he's got that long stick mic, and
Yep.
that's
He holds it by his belly button,
right. Like,
but
so
that's not the audio you're hearing.
yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's not.
I think if his nipples could talk, it would probably be good placement. But yeah, that's
Hold on. If Bob Barker's nipples could talk, do you know what kind of stories you would hear?
They
Are you
would
kidding
have
me?
some wild ones.
Yikes.
who can get closer without going over.
Oh yeah.
No, Plinko. I want to see Bob Barker's nipples used for Plinko. How does it drop down? By far, the greatest game ever played. That's why they never do it. They save it for special occasions. Plinko is the greatest game ever created by men. Better than my favorite sport, basketball. Better than soccer. Better than everything. Better than betting. Plinko is the shit.
Yeah.
Or you know
It's good
what?
shit.
Better than Plinko is betting on Plinko.
As a kind of a side note, I guess we should have probably did this first. When you say eat the mic, I mean, describe that, please. I mean, is it literally like, yeah, you're
That's
pretty
all
much
you, Isaac.
Well, I mean, I was actually going to say this already. I mean, you can eat the mic, and what you mean by that is you literally eat the fucking mic. You want your lips to be pretty much touching the microphone. Say the SM58, for example, that's quite gain hungry. So you need to be as close to it as possible to get as much sound into it as possible without capturing.
So you say
the
gain
sound around
hungry.
you.
Can you explain for
Yeah.
the folks at home what gain is and what that means?
Yeah. So gain is it's similar to volume, but it's I think it in my head, but I can't put it into words.
Here's what it is. Here's what it is. So volume basically takes whatever signal you have and makes it louder or lower. Gain, in regards to microphones, basically makes the sensitivity of the microphone and what comes into the microphone, higher or lower. So in a perfect world, in a studio, like, for example, Beyonce, what I've heard is what they do with her is they sit her in a fucking airtight booth with an U87, a Neumann U87, and they turn the gain as high as they can until you hear room tone, right? Then you turn it down so you don't hear room tone rather. And then you send that signal to another thing. It might be, it could be a million different things. It's probably a mixing board. But you send it to another thing, and then you turn the volume up. And then the volume is just replicating what the gain has allowed to come into the microphone. So from what I've heard is she sits on a stool with like ridiculously perfect posture, and they turn the gain all the way up and make sure the room is fucking super quiet. And then she sings like this, but it sounds wild because she's so close to the microphone. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Must be love on the brain. I mean so much. That's a perfect example of that type of song. She was clearly gain high and eating the microphone. And she was doing a booming performance that she probably couldn't do in real life. But that's just my opinion.
So what you're saying is that she sings low, but then they fix it in post.
Hey.
Ah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, honestly. And we talked about that in my podcast with this dude. Like,
Yeah.
we've heard
What I will
terrible songs.
say,
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
all right, what I will say is on the other side to eating the mic, there are benefits of backing up as well.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
if you're
for sure.
too close to the mic, you can get some unwanted sort of lower frequencies, and it can be quite rumbly. If you step back, it sometimes can be. I mean, it depends on your microphone. It depends on the
It's
room
a
you're in.
technique,
You can
right?
get
Like, there's
yeah.
more than one way to skin a cat. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Like, it's a technique.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes kind of into my process, and like anybody who's listening who wants to get into podcast or any kind of recording, whether streaming or whatever, like, do you, Isaac, do you have any type of like how to set up your gear so you're clean, you're you have you have good volume, but nothing's distorted? Because when I was trying to set this whole gear up, I try to look at different videos and how people set their gear up. But not being an audio engineer,
I'll set your gear up.
not being an audio engineer, I can only, a lot of it is trial and error. I'll try, like right now, I have a pod mic by that's by Rode that goes into a cheap Behringer mixing board that goes into my computer. So, like, how do you set your gain appropriately? How do you set your channels and
Gain staging.
Yeah, gain
Hit
staging.
them.
Gain staging is I guess it's slightly different when you're the recording engineer, but gain staging is very important because there is a sweet spot for the audio, and if you want to process the audio and do stuff to it, you want to get to that sweet spot. You're going to want what's called a VU meter. It's so when you're metering sound, there's a lot of different meters you can use, but in this specific example, you'll want a VU meter, and you're going to aim to have an average of about 0 on that meter, and that will give you a decent gain level that you can do a lot with. But I mean, you're right, it does depend on your setup a lot.
Can I hit you with another thing?
Sure, go on.
So there are certain platforms that automatically put like a limiter and
Yeah.
like on your podcast. So for the folks at home listening, or for you, Matt, a limiter is something that basically it brings everything up to wherever you want it to go. And then there are what is the word I'm looking for? Isaac, help me. I'm having a brain fart. A ducker, not a ducker, a gate. And they put gates on that eliminate outside noise. So it depends on your platform. If we're talking pure production, that's a different question.
Right. So let's take, for instance, this podcast, for example. Like I said, I don't have a sound studio. I have.
What's your host?
So when I record my stuff, I record it on Reaper locally, and then I pull all my guests from Zoom, and I edit everything in Reaper. When you say host, do you mean who do I upload it through, or?
Yeah, but if you're doing it through Reaper, you could do everything in Reaper that you need to do. Isaac, what are your thoughts?
I mean, recording straight into any DAW is in my opinion the ideal solution. When I do my podcast, I record straight into Logic. Pretty much for the reasons that you said. If you record into like an online host or something, you'll be hit with a gate and a limiter, and you want the audio to be as raw as possible.
But so that's kind of my like, I was using Audacity, which is fine to get started with. It's a destructive DAW, but it's pretty much people start from somewhere. I started to like this more, so I invested in a better one that allows for different plugins, stuff like that. So, like, I'm still kind of somewhat confused on how I should set my thing, right? So right now I can see my and I know this is different from the UV meter, but I have the dB meter. So like when I'm recording here, is there a target I should be trying to aim for, or is it kind of dependent on like the final process? I don't do a lot of editing to these shows. I kind of like take out like crutches and ums and so's, stuff like that are rogue. But like I've heard, go, average about 18 dB, and then go into LUFS and all these type of things where all these initialisms and things like that will kind of like use this tool, no use this tool, no use this tool. So is there, for the average person who is not an audio engineer, is there like advice that you would tell them to uh strive for?
That's a tricky one. The dB meter that you referred to, so that's a peak meter. That will show you the peak of the audio. So trying to find a specific level on that could be tricky, because if your audio is dynamic, which obviously speaking and singing often is, it's very difficult to have a middle ground on that. What I would do personally is I would just record so it's at a decent level. I don't know if in front of you, I'm not sure if you can see your recording being made. I probably worded that badly, but I don't know if you can see the sound file being
Yeah, I
put
can
in
see
front
the
of you.
waveforms as I'm talking. I see the dB meter
Yeah.
and I can see the waves.
Okay. So what I would do is I would, for now, just the dB meter, as long as you're staying below -3, say, you'll be all right. But as long as your waveforms are a decent size, you can, with a lot of DAWs, sorry, you can go through and you can change the gain of the audio file without changing the volume. And
First of
then
all,
that's
all
when
right, I gotta jump in. First of all, this sounds like I'm listening to a customer service call. Like you're trying to troubleshoot his shit. It's hilarious. Your intonation. Second of all, I want to say to the people at home listening to this who have heard me before, this dude Isaac knows this shit. He's right. And I love that he started his response with, "That's a tricky one," because there are so many fucking variables that it's
yeah.
almost impossible to understand what's going on without being there and seeing it. We could troubleshoot things. Like we could set up a session where you go ahead and you like alter things, but like we can't talk about it theoretically and necessarily know for sure. It's like a doctor giving you a diagnosis on a Zoom call. Almost, but
Yeah.
maybe not accurate.
I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, I know everybody's case is case by case, and I'm sure there's general guidelines of what you can go for. But like I said, I'm still trying to learn, and I somehow I came up on like LUFS and where that should be, and
Yeah.
depending on what your final product is, kind of where it should be, if it's in stereo or mono. So usually when I try to, before I do any editing, I try to bring up all the audio to like anywhere from like -23 LUFS to -21, depending on how each
Okay,
channel
I
is.
got I got
That's
you on
quite
that.
quiet.
So first of all, I want to say I just talk like this. I'm not being aggressive at you. You know what I mean? I wasn't shitting on you with that last commentary. Second of all, here's what I will say. You want to bring it up as loud as possible on the gain without hearing room tone. And then you want to bring the audio up. Okay, we're talking about for layman's. You know how the little meter goes from green to yellow to red?
Yes.
So you want to bring it to the place where it only goes to the top of the green mostly. And then when you have someone like me shouting, it only ends up in yellow. Right? So
Right.
you figure that balance out. And then you could take that and you could edit that. And then you could do compression and limiters and things like that. And that's a whole nother conversation, which apparently we're here to have because we're having an audio conversation. Isaac, tell him how he can fix his audio by gain staging properly and adding compression and everything else separately.
All right. Well, I mean, again, it sort of depends on your setup, but once you've got your
He's
recording,
using Reaper. He's already got Reaper.
I know full about Reaper.
It's a DAW. He has a DAW. Let's start
That's
there.
the start. Yeah, that's the start. That's good. I don't know if Reaper has a built-in VU meter. If not, there is a really good free one. I don't remember the name of it. I'll have to find it and send it to you. But it's honestly, I've got a paid one from Waves, and the free one is way better than the paid one. So you'll put that on I don't know if you do our audio separately, but just to save time, you put it on the master channel, say, and then solo the audio just one at a time. You want to aim for that sweet spot of 0 for you. It's going to go over, it's going to go under, but that is just your average point, and you want to do that to each file separately. Once you're at that sweet spot, that's when you can move on to your equalization, your compression, and now I do it in that order because if you want a flat sounding audio and you compress it before you EQ it, your EQ is going to bring out spikes that you got rid of with the compression.
Yep.
So if you compress it afterwards, you haven't got that issue. So I go through, EQ your sound. I mean, it depends how you want to do it, but
bro, not to get nerdy, you ever do an EQ compression sandwich where you EQ compress and then EQ again?
yeah. Yeah. That's pretty good. But yeah, so with your EQ, take out everything. You don't really want any rumble in a podcast, so take out everything below, say, 100 hertz, and
200.
then just 200. Yeah, there you go. And then I don't know, either EQ it to what sounds good or look at a cheat sheet online or something and get lazy. Now, when you go into compression, each compressor colors the sound differently. Now, what I mean by that is each compressor will change the sound of the file. So it won't only change the dynamic value, it will change the actual the sound of it.
My dick is getting so hard, Isaac. I haven't been able to work with my friends for over a year. This is the type of shit I love talking about. So okay, we're going full nerd. So
yeah, let's do it.
People don't even know what compressors are, but we're talking about them. So
all right,
sometimes I'll throw a touch of compressor through a bus just so we can get a little bit of
color
and unity in the sound.
Yeah.
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 Just a little bit of like parallel compression.
Yeah. And bro, color is a reason. Like that's why people use certain fucking compressors. Or fuck, I can't remember any of them. I'm seeing them in my mind. There's a blue one. I think I want to say Fitbit, but I know that's not true.
No, that's on my wrist.
The Oturion, it's not an Oturion. It's called something else. But there's I've used hardware compressors, for example, where it was like, bro, if you turn this on today for our session in 2 more days, it's going to give us the best, warmest color on vocals. And it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And it's even dependent on how long the tubes have been warm.
Yeah, no, it really is.
I would love to be all very technical and completely fine tune my episodes. But unfortunately I don't have the time to invest in that. So I kind of I have a rough, set of parameters that I use. And unless there's something that's,
here's what I'm going to say. So, okay, You're running Windows, right?
Yes.
Download something called Voice Meter Banana. And then from there, you can EQ your shit. And then you can accentuate your own audio or whatever live if you chose to. Otherwise, if you want to edit post, I can send you some sort of EQ template in which we cut out all the bad frequencies.
The templates are so useful.
Like, yeah, templates are useful in certain situations, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say have a template like, oh, this is an audio vocal template. I wouldn't say that. But I would say, like me, I've recorded myself for fucking 18 years. Yeah, I have a
So you know
template
what
for
your
my
voice is going to
voice.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then, okay, another fun fact for the folks at home. If you're willing to listen to this podcast, you deserve this information. I have a default template in my Logic called
Start here.
yeah, no, yeah, basically it is start here. It's called ring out. So if you played music on a PA system in public, these are the frequencies that always ring out and cause feedback. Dude, I started just putting that on every single track, start here, and it changed my whole mix game. Like, there's no reason for 6,000 to be in your fucking mix. Start here. And you could adjust accordingly. Like, there's no reason you can't put a separate EQ to accentuate other high ends or mid tones that I took out. But like, yeah, start here.
So, in general, obviously, for just vocals, anything below 200 hertz is pretty much useless. Anything above 6,000 is, for the most part, useless.
It depends on your taste. 150, below 150 is definitely useless. Would you agree with that, Isaac?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And then 150 to 200 is debatable, right?
Yeah. I mean, that depends on the person. It depends on the setup. Yeah.
And also your voice. Like some
Yeah.
people, like I have a very deep voice. My bass is turned all the way down on my mixer. Yeah. And I still sound like this. Good mic technique.
Hell yeah.
So, going back to mic technique,
Don't sweat the technique.
So, I mean, I know we talked about eating the mic. So, like right now, I for the people at home that can't see, I have my mic. It's on a boom arm. It's got it's not a dead cat, but it's can't think of the word.
A filter, a
yeah,
windscreen.
Yeah, windscreen.
Yeah,
there we go.
A pop filter. Like,
So,
nah, it's a windscreen.
do I should I be talking like I'm kind of at like a 45-degree angle? I'm talking past the mic. Should I be talking more into the mic like this?
Absolutely. Did you not just hear that?
Well, you say that, but if you talk directly into the mic, I found that you get a lot of sibilance. And actually, when I'm recording, I record
Interesting.
maybe 20 degree. I mean, it might be my mic. I'm using a Rode Procaster. And I've got a pop filter in front of it, so there's not many plosives, but it does get very sibilant. So I've got my mic off maybe 15 degrees from my face, so it's not a huge difference, but for me at least, it does actually help having it slightly off.
I'm gonna humble brag a bit. I just been rapping so long that my mic technique is so dope that I even know how to not pop on peas. You know, there's a way that you just. So, but I get what you're saying. But if that's the, I just mouth smack. If that is the case, I guess you would have to change like your mic direction, your gain staging, right? So you account for the fact that you don't speak directly into the microphone. and then you turn up the gain until you
Yes.
hear room tone, right?
Yeah.
That,
So when I'm doing gain staging, I want to try to have this room as quiet as it can be.
yeah. So wait a second. You have a Behringer UM 204 HD.
I have an 802.
Even better. Boom. Turn your gain up right now on the hardware.
How far?
Just start tweaking it and go bup bup bup, and then we can hear you. Like
So-
this is a sound check.
So this is
Check.
checked. So how hard do I want to do the check? So if I'm starting to sweep this up, so I'm at like 10 o'clock right about now.
Are you
So-
in the red? That's it. That's it right there.
Yeah.
Isaac?
There you go. Yep.
and part of my problem, see, like,
And
when
now you don't have to eat the mic. And
Well,
I don't hear your room.
so right now, like when I'm looking at Reaper, I just saw that peak. So like right now when I'm talking, it looks like it's peaking.
Now, here's what I will say. You have a particular type of voice. The fact that you edit your shit is an advantage because now you EQ. You know what you need to take out? You need to take out the 6. You need to not. He's writing it down. Good. Notch down 600 hertz. Notch that down. You've got too much 600 hertz in your voice. And let's also notch down 1000 because you're here. You live here. That's where you're living. We could edit that out via EQ. Dude, check this out. You want to hear a funny story, Isaac? There's this fucking dude.
Sure.
You know what? I feel like a piece of shit because I forget his name. But he was a multiple Grammy winning mixer. And he did all of the mixing on Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, first album. And by some confluence or some circumstance, he ended up in my apartment one night. And I was making beats in my room, and my roommate brought him home because my roommate worked for Universal, whatever. And I didn't know he was there. I was just making beats in my room. And he knocks on the door and he comes in, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? He's like, yo, can I show you something? Those drums can knock. And then he goes and then he turns off like all my compressors on every track. And then he goes and then he just fucks with the faders. And then he puts on like, what was it? SSL EQ, the plugin. And this dude made my track way better. And then he said to me, he was like, listen, you're not ready for compressors yet. I can make a better beat. I can make a better mix rather with just EQ than you can with compressors. And I was like, word. And he was like, yo, you guys got beers? And I was like, yeah. And that's how that night went. It was amazing.
That sounds great.
So I kind of want to go back to like, so you're just listening to me, and I don't know if it's just Zoom's compression software that they use, but like just to say, hey, cut out the 600, cut out the 1,000. That's kind of like, I don't know, kind of amazing to me that, you know, just by like saying that's the one you want to cut out. But like when I do put my EQ on it, I do have 10, 12 dipped out some, so that's got like a -4 gain. But I didn't think about the 600. That's kind of what the mud tone type of thing is. That kind of where that's at.
No. That's the gravel voice. 5 to 650. That's like the in your voice. So if you dip that down, am I bugging, Isaac?
No, you're right.
Yeah, that's a gravel in your voice. When we're talking vocals specifically, male vocals, yeah, that's a gravel in your voice. That's why my shit is dipped down. and I still sound like a fucking asthmatic Brooklyn Jew. Ah.
And so you just dip down until the harshness goes away? Is that kind of like where you shoot for?
I mean, yeah. And honestly, another trick that a lot of motherfuckers don't listen to, don't use your eyes, use your ears. If it sounds good, it sounds
your
good.
ears are the most important tool that you have.
Yep. That's all that matters.
And I know part of my problem when I'm doing this, I don't.
Because you're talking about meters and shit like that. And me and him are listening and being like, no, duck this down, duck this down. You see how that works? And,
True.
And the worst answer to all your questions is, I don't know, do it for 15 years and you'll be dope. You know? And Isaac, from what I can tell, he knows his shit, but he still has a lot to learn because he's just at where he's at. And I'm where I'm at, and I still have a ton to learn. That's why, you go to like a Little Yachty concert. Like, I worked a Little Yachty concert once, and guess who fucking mixed everything? 50 and 60-year-olds.
Yeah.
And check this out. These dudes, check this shit out. These 50-year-old, 60-year-old live mixers, they know what frequencies they can't hear because they've been to too many concerts. How about that? And then they adjust their mind to understand what sounds good. And the way you get to that is, right? What you do is when you first start doing live music, anything, or actually any type of mixing, you pick a song. You pick a song that you think is mixed incredibly. Doesn't have to be, but that's how I would start. And then from there, you play it in every room you enter. You play it on every speaker you encounter. You play it on every set of headphones. And you know what the fucking song sounds like inherently. And then you get enough experience with that song so you can go ahead and judge the room and judge other different contexts of playing this song. So first thing you do when you're setting up for a mix on a concert, you pick your reference song. You grab that reference song, you play it. Let's call it, Katy Perry song, whatever. We play a Katy Perry song. But you know that song in and out. You've heard it in every context. Thousands of headphones, thousands of speakers. Like, you know this fucking song. And then you hear it on this setup at a live concert outdoors. And you're like, wow, there's way too much echo on this shit. And sometimes that takes 15 fucking years. Sometimes it takes 2 years. It depends on when people give you the information. I told you, Isaac, I'm taking you under my wing.
I'm fucking more than happy for that. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. No, complete sense.
And I think you said this before where they like an empty studio or venue will definitely sound different compared to once the people start showing up. So they'll pre-tune that, knowing that there's going to be 1,000 people here. There's going to be 2,000 people here. So it might, at an empty, it'll sound terrible. But once you get bodies in there, they'll absorb some of your sound and it'll sound better.
Yes, I did say that. Isaac, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. That goes for any size venue. I've worked in venues that are
any size,
300. Yeah, I'd say a 300 cap venue. Shit sounds kind of tinny or whatever, and then everything sounds
tinny
warm when everyone comes in. Yeah, but it goes for stadiums as well. You go into the stadium when they're doing sound check before the crowd comes in, and you listen and you're like, what the fuck? But then when the band is actually playing, you're like, holy shit, this is amazing. It really matters because people absorb the vibrations, as weird as it is.
People add warmth.
Yes. Yeah.
Yo, Hamady,
Yes.
you
Big boy.
can I nerd out?
Sure. I mean, haven't we been doing that for the last 45 minutes?
Yeah. Check this out. Check this out, bro. So there's like algorithms that you use to it's called a delay. So a delay is like basically like an echo in layman's terms, right? So like if I say, yeah, 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 that's like a 1/8 delay. Isaac, I'm on point, right?
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that's what a delay is. But check this out. When you do a large outdoor space or really any large space, you do a delay, or no, you don't do a delay. There is a delay, right? So you have your speakers and the people in the back hear it later than the people in the front. So
Yeah.
what you do is you actually set up speakers in the back and then you time the delay via math. I know. You actually, yeah, we use math sometimes. So you time the delay via math and then you make them sync up. So the people in the back hear the same shit as the people in the front.
And that's all based on years of experience, size of the venue, crowd size, all that.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you a fucking story. When I first got into live music, we did a graduation, and then it was in like one of those like big loft spaces in Brooklyn. And the walls were just like concrete walls, whatever, painted white. And we had to put drape up along the entire walls. And I asked my boss, I was like, yo, what's the point of this? Like, how'd you get them to buy drapes? Basically, is what I was saying. And he was like, bro, that's legit. Like, we reduced the echo in the room by like 20% just by putting up drapes. I was like, whoa, oh shit. Oh.
So is that reverb? Is that kind of what echo is, or is reverb something different?
Reverb is different.
Isaac, you got 4 more hours.
Let's do this.
Isaac, hit it with reverb.
Reverb is so reverb is trying to think of how to word it. You've got the transient, which is a sound itself.
Oh, you hit it with transient. You're not explaining it right. This is for layman's, remember?
Okay, well, what the transient is. Let's start
stop.
The beginning.
Stop. Okay, stop. So, Matt, reverb is basically the bounce back of a sound against the context of the environment.
Right. So that's why you put the drapes up in the arena, because
so you don't have bounce back. Correct. For example, there's this place in my apartment. There's a spot in the kitchen where when I say that, it just bounces back and makes me want to fight people. So then I went around my apartment going, that, and clapping and shit like that. Because, yo, Isaac, I don't know if you're at this level yet, but I'm an old curmudgeon. That bothers me. I can't yell that in my fucking own kitchen without getting like a tinny reverb. Like, it's disgusting. It's disrespectful. So that is what reverb is. When you yell that in your own kitchen and it bounces off the walls and hurts your ears, yeah, that's reverb.
It's best way to describe it.
So is that why a lot of your like sound panels are shaped like wedges, so you don't have a flat surface to bounce off? It like kind of comes off of like a brum, or what's that called for like
bro, that's like another 4-hour podcast, but you're right. The concept is you're not supposed to be in a parallel room, right? Like you want things to bounce off of each other and not bounce back at the microphone or the speakers. And then, yeah, that's those wedges you're talking about. Those are called bass traps, and they're supposed to keep the bass from like bouncing back and shit like that. Like Isaac.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of soundproofing you can do, from things like bass traps to drapes. I mean, you can put a fucking mattress against your window and you'll cut the reflections down. It's literally even any household items, as long as it's soft, you can turn it into some kind of sound protection.
And here's where I'll push back. Get a decent mic and learn gain staging. And you don't need any of that shit.
That's the important thing. Yeah.
Because first of all, Jay-Z recorded 99 Problems in his living room. You know, second of all, I'm sitting here in my room. I've got a window open. I've got a radiator fucking letting out heat. You don't hear any of that shit.
Yeah.
Good mic technique and gain staging. Bad.
How you fucking do it, man.
I'm sorry. I did a job on your podcast. Had to.
Amazing.
So is there so for the people at home that don't have access to you two, is there a good source that to learn gain staging, to learn mic technique?
Oh yes.
The internet is your tool.
I got one dude. Yes, the internet is God. But there's one fucking dude. I trust him. He's an old school dude who understands and adapts to the new school ways. Robert Pensado, Pensados Place. This dude does all sorts of interviews with other producers like CLA, Chris Lord-Alge and shit like that. Like all the plugin makers have all been on his show. He does tutorials. He gets files from people and will mix it and put that on his show. Like this dude is the shit. If you're coming from I don't care where you're coming from, actually, now that I think about it, watch this dude, Robert Pensado. And let me double check that his name's Robert. No, but it's called Pensados Place.
Is it spelled how I would think it? Pentado?
I don't know. I'm seeing if his name is Robert. Robert Sato. No, he's definitely not Robert Sato. Robert Sato pleads guilty to murder.
Oh God.
No, that's not it. Pensados Place. I still don't know his name, but definitely at Pensados Place on Twitter and on YouTube. That's that guy. Anyway, I'm sorry. Where do you think that we should get our information from, Isaac? My bad.
Honestly, I would say the internet. That's how I taught myself. I've done a couple of studio sessions, whether I was performing in them or whether I was helping out someone else that was that needed to record and they didn't have an engineer. I'd say, fuck it, I'll do it. Pretty much everything that I've learned has come straight from the internet, and all of it can, it's all easily applied. It's all really easy to learn. Just find the right places. I mean, there's YouTube videos, there's websites. I don't have a specific place, but I use the internet.
You should never.
Yeah. No one source is 100% correct all the time.
Also, something I like to say, and I said this many times on my podcast with Isaac, there's more than one way to skin a cat. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Yeah,
exactly. You put a fucking, I don't know, it's gone from my head, but something you'd normally use on a guitar, put it on a fucking bass, screw it.
A pick.
If it works, it works.
Oh. So you said Pensados Place, not Pensato.
Yeah, with a D.
Yeah. Well, I said with an S, but okay. Just a black background and gold lettering.
Yeah,
Gold,
yeah.
yellow. Okay.
And dude, a lot of his stuff is he has a ton of advanced shit on it, but like he also has like basic shit where it's like editing rap vocals for a beginner. And he'll do that shit where he'll explain like the different frequencies and shit like that.
And I know one of my problems, and you're probably gonna yell at me for this, but I don't monitor I don't monitor myself when I'm recording. So like I don't hear myself at all. So other than just me talking.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say. I don't know of a single podcast platform that allows you to monitor yourself while you're recording. And I can't imagine not hearing myself. So I open up Logic and I monitor myself. So you can open up Reaper and you can throw on the monitor on that and you'll be good. But also, don't put EQ on that. You want that to be flat as fuck and at unity so you understand your true voice.
So my mixing board does have a headphone out, but this variety of it, like it's weird how it can loop back. Like I can kind of hear myself, but I'm not used to that hearing myself speak and in my ears at the same time. So that's kind of why, like, if I go through Reaper, there's too much of a delay.
So so it's a you thing,
right?
You say your mixing board headphone out. Your mic, is it running through an audio interface or is it going straight into your mixing board?
No, it goes
a Behringer audio interface.
Yeah, it goes right into
Have you got a headphone out on your interface itself?
Yes.
Okay, is that what you're plugged into?
Not for my headphones. Like
plug your headphones into that.
Why not?
If you plug your headphones into that, chances are you'll have zero latency direct monitoring. Because that's exactly what I've done.
Let's take it a bit further. You can hear when you're peaking better if you're plugged into your interface versus plugged into your computer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I just need to set it correctly because right now I have it on. I can hear the hiss, but I can't hear myself back.
Yeah. Don't do that now, but yeah, we'll do that. We'll talk about that.
Because I think this one, it's weird on some of the routing of it. So I know I have
fucking routing.
I have heard myself back, but then it's weird with the push buttons and like it's got a dB meter on it, but there's only 4 lights. One of them's red, which I never want to use. One of them's yellow, I don't want to use, and it's 0 and -20. So I can't really use that either. So
honestly, bro, I don't even know what you're saying. You're just throwing numbers and colors at me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I know like some of the higher end boards have like a full like dB meter on it, but this one doesn't. So
bro, see, you're talking about meters again.
Yeah,
close your eyes, use your ears. Shut the fuck up about meters, bro. Like, what are we talking about? This is an audio podcast, and you're talking about visual.
But yeah, see
what I'm saying? That concept alone will get you to a better place.
Yeah, without doubt.
I mean, I think so. I pretty much have to monitor myself to get better. So that
monitor yourself on audio. Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Monitor myself with audio compared to just looking at bouncing lights and flowy meters.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Or purple hair.
All right, so I think we learned a lot. Well, at least I did, and I'm sure we could spend another couple hours on here. But before we go into longer, Isaac, can you remind the people where they can find you?
Yeah, so check out our website, www.damagedstudios.com. You can check out our podcast on there as well. It's called Fix It in Post. Any of you music makers, we are actually running a deal at the moment. So any mixing and mastering you can get for 15% off. So hit us up. That's up until April 1st.
Meta, what about you? Where can the
I'm
people
Meta
find-
World Thief, aka Meta World Jesus, aka Meta World Mix and Master. So I'm offering 20% off until July 1st.
You fucker.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Give this guy all your business. And then what he can't do, send that to me. I'll take the
There you
crumbs.
go.
It's okay. He's British. He's proper. He deserves it. That being said, I'm Meta World Thief, aka Meta World Jesus, aka Podcast Jesus, aka Mr. Steal Your Blunt, aka Mr. Mike Technique. Yes, I can do it all. At Meta World Thief on all socials, Flapping Gums Podcast on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts from. Love me, like me, subscribe me. Yeah.
to sum up this episode,
20% off at
25% off, all right?
30% off.
now you gotta do
Yeah, you got me there.
you gotta do it the other way. Use this coupon and I'll add 20% gratuity to it. You know, that's how good I am.
Perfect.
We'll pay you to mix your songs. $20 per song. Flat rate. I got you.
21.
20. Okay. You win. So
all right.
So Isaac is saying he'll pay $21 to mix your song. He said that.
Yeah,
He
but
said
it's going
that.
to cost you
Cash in that
$250 for me to
coupon.
master it.
Hey, clip this shit. Sue him for false advertising. I'm with that.
You said this is the price. He's like, no, you gotta convert it to pounds, so that's why it's higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I'm gonna have to review this, try to go through my listening process, close my eyes, open my ears, try to make this as enjoyable as I can for everyone at home. But with that, I think this is a good spot to end the podcast. So unless either one of you, Isaac, Meta, you have anything to add, I think this is a good spot to say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you later.
You have been listening to Firing Synapses with Matt Hamady. I want to thank everyone who listened to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends. Also, feel free to send all questions, comments, constructive criticisms, and new topics to mhamidyphoto@gmail.com. That's MHAMIDY photo@gmail.com. It just may end up on a future episode. If you would also like to help the show, you can follow me on all your social media platforms, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it's still free. Otherwise, goodbye, everybody.